Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a new pick a card reading for you guys. This one is all about the summer of 2020 prediction. So those few months in summer, if you guys live in the northern hemisphere, it will be your summer beginning on June 21st all the way until September 21st. If you guys are in the southern hemisphere, it'll be your winter. So either way, this video still does apply to you from the dates of June 21st, 2020 all the way to September 21st of 2020. So if you guys are new to pick a card readings, I'm going to give you guys a quick little rundown of how they work. So over here we have pile number 1, then we have pile 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you can take a moment, pause the video if you'd like to find the pile that you're the most drawn towards. I personally like to put my hand over top of the screen and just feel which card feels the most magnetizing towards me, and then I usually go with that pile. But if you guys like to choose with crystals, I'll be putting some crystals on there in just a moment. But then once you're done choosing your pile, whether you pick with crystals or not, there will be timestamps linked down below in the description box and the comment box so you guys can skip ahead and watch your personal reading. So without further ado, let's add some crystals below these cards. All right, so if you guys like to choose with crystals, here are our crystal options. Over here we have some regular quartz, then over here some titanium aura quartz. This over here is tanzanite aura quartz, and then over here we have some opalite, and then we have pyrite. So again, take a moment, pause the video if you'd like to find the pile that you're the most drawn towards. Then once you're done choosing, you can scroll down to the comment box or the description box to find the timestamp that's linked to your specific card. Then you can skip ahead and watch your personal reading. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. All right, so pile number 1, if you guys chose this pile, this is going to be your reading for your summer of 2020 or winter, depending on which hemisphere of the earth that you live in. So without further ado, let's hop right into it, starting now. All right, so group number 1, this is what we have for you guys. We start off with the 2 of Swords being reversed, then we have the 6 of Crystals reversed, which is the Pentacles essentially, and then we have the 5 of Crystals reversed, and then we also have the 7 of Swords being reversed. So a lot of Sword and Pentacle energy. So the whole summer or winter, depending on which hemisphere you reside on, the whole time of June to September is like essentially dealing a lot with communication, your thinking patterns, your thoughts, and also dealing with money and material aspects mostly. So when we start off with the 2 of Swords being reversed over here, this is taking some sort of blindfold off, taking some sort of mask off, coming out of the cave and feeling like you're ready to get back out there. It's like getting rid of some fears that once held you back and some fears that were once within you. And I do feel like this is happening in the beginning of this whole like summer or winter for you guys. I'm just gonna refer to it as summer for now, I guess, so I don't have too much confusion over here for you guys. But essentially summer for the northern hemisphere, which is essentially June to September. So the 2 of Swords being reversed, yeah, it's just you are losing some sort of inhibitions that held you back, that kept you in fear from moving forward, that kept you in fear from doing things like that. So that's what I'm seeing in the beginning of this whole kind of summer for you guys, in the beginning or kind of like end of June, because summer begins at the end of June. And then the 6 of Crystals over here being reversed. This is kind of like, we feel like we've probably lost out on some money for now. I feel like quite a few of us are feeling this way, especially since quarantine. Not a lot of us have been able to work and do things that increased our monetary aspects, and so a lot of us are feeling this way. So I am kind of seeing for most of you guys who chose this pile, it does look like some sort of mask is being removed and you're kind of being able to go outside again. So that can actually be literal or just metaphorical, but I guess you guys will have to see depending on your own personal situation. Again, it is a general reading, but the 6 of Crystals being reversed is finally realizing like, ooh, I'm gonna have to go kind of like get my butt in gear again. I'm gonna have to start doing things again and either going to work again, or maybe you guys already were working, but somehow you're ready for your monetary aspects to increase again, because it's felt like they were a little bit declined for the last little bit. And so this is usually when we get some sort of help, or we get kind of like a hand pretty much reaches out to us to help us materially or monetarily. So I do feel like you guys are getting some sort of help in that aspect, or some sort of like, you know, somebody's got your back essentially in terms of money and things like that. And then we also do have the 5 of Pentacles being reversed. And this is actually much better being reversed, because this is like being able to feel safe again, being able to get invited in and get help and like that kind of stuff. And so some of you guys who chose this pile might be getting some sort of like financial bonus or abundance in some way, where somebody's either like helping you out or giving you a raise or giving you an extra job, something like that. It does seem like you guys are getting a little bit of a helping hand here in order to feel a little bit more prosperous, because it might feel a little bit like unprosperous at the beginning of all of this. So yes, I do feel like you guys are getting an increase in your finances, but I do feel like it's from somebody else somehow, or it's tied to somebody else, or it's tied to some sort of opportunity or some sort of job. You're getting it through doing something, or somebody helping you out, lending you advice or an opportunity or something like that. And then we also do have the Seven of Swords being reversed. This is also finally feeling like, whew, I feel free again. I feel like things are starting to balance out and things are beginning to not necessarily return to normal, but head in a better direction than what it's like currently been. And so that's going to be a pretty good uplifting feeling for a lot of you guys who chose this pile. And the Seven of Swords being reversed is also like we finally are able to get off of our butts and go out and do things again, and we're not feeling like we're missing out on everything, because I feel like a lot of us were worried about missing out on so much, and we have already missed out on so much in many different parts of the world. So I do feel like that feeling is somehow going away, especially by the mid to end of this summer. So this is like the end of July, beginning of August. I feel like things are going to start feeling really good, especially near the end of August as well. I do feel like things are going to feel like they're going up again and finally moving again. There is this sense still of like things are a little bit slow, and I feel like that's why everything's upside down right now, because this usually just means delays. So there is some sort of feeling of like this background delay, and like you're still kind of like carrying a bunch in order to like try to move forward, but at the same time, things are moving forward and it's going to feel really, really good, and you're finally not missing out on everything, and you're finally going to be able to do things again, and that will be really, really nice. So our next two cards that we have here for you guys is Share Wisdom and the Creator. So with these two cards, starting off with Share Wisdom, I do feel like you guys will have a lot to offer, especially in terms of communicating, and so I do feel like there's going to be a lot of conversations to be had, especially since we have two sword cards over here. There's always rules, like we tend to be thinking a lot, we have a lot to say on these certain matters that are happening around the world, so I feel like you guys will have this opportunity to be able to talk about it and to be able to share your thoughts and your wisdom on all the things that have kind of happened. And I do feel like it's this ever-growing kind of tree of wisdom. And I feel like you guys are growing so much as individuals because of everything that's happening right now. And then we also do have the Creator over here. So I do feel like there's going to be this wave and this push this summer to finally be able to go and do things. And again, we're going to finally feel like we can create and that we can set the spark off again. So it's almost like you're lighting that birthday candle again. It's kind of what I'm seeing because of this wand, and it's kind of like having this essentially like explosion at the top of it, if you guys can see that. So I feel like this like June, July, August, and September is definitely going to be like that spark is igniting once again for you guys to be able to create, for you guys to be able to do, and things are going to just feel really good. I do feel like you're going to have a lot of inspiration and a lot of creativity running through you and rushing through you during this time. So definitely keep that in mind as well. The next two cards that we have over here is the Clover and the Fire. So let's talk about what these two cards mean. So I do want to first point out that the Creator and the Fire actually have a lot in common, because the wands over here, since there is a wand in this usually talks about the fire type of energy, which is inspiration and stuff. And even though these aren't tarot cards, so they don't necessarily correlate to the wands, the Creator just reminds me a lot of the Ace of Wands. And so it reminds me a lot of that kind of like fire sign creative energy, especially since it does deal with creative energy being the Creator card. And so when we have it next to the Five of Diamonds and the Fire over here, this is definitely like things are finally igniting and we're finally feeling like we're able to do things. This can also indicate travel sometimes, because the diamonds do correlate a lot to the wands. There is some debate whether or not the diamonds deal with the pentacles or whether the clubs deal with the pentacles. I personally read the clubs as pentacles personally, because in traditional playing cards, the clubs would usually represent like money and material aspects and stuff like that, which correlates a lot to the pentacles. And therefore, I would kind of equate diamonds to personally being wands. That's how I've always personally read them. So there is some debate on that. I know some of you guys watching this might be like, wait a minute, what? I correlate diamonds to pentacles. I personally correlate the diamonds to the wands. And it kind of does fit in since we do have the fire energy over here, and wands correlate to fire energy. So we're just going to go with that for today's video. So the Five of Wands kind of indicates that we are kind of sorting a lot of things out and things are changing up. So it's changing up quite a bit, and I feel like this like June, July, August, and September is going to change up quite a bit for a lot of you guys during this time. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of this like creative spark. You're finally going to be able to get up off your feet, but it's going to require a lot of like change in your schedule, a lot of change in your current timelines. And so I feel like you guys are currently changing quite a bit up this summer. And yeah, it just feels like a little bit hectic, but there's like this excitement behind it. It's not like a hecticness in a chaotic way. It's just a hecticness in a very creative way, because you're like, ooh, I can finally do all these things. Let's go out and do them. Whoop. And then we also have over here the Six of Diamonds, which I calculate to be, calculate, such a funny word, to be the, I equate it to be the Six of Wands, which is like this good luck. You're getting praise for something. So I also feel like for you guys who chose this pile, there's some sort of recognition that you're getting. And I do feel like if I tap into this, I feel like this is happening around the end of July for most of you guys. I feel like half of you guys it's happening around the end of July, and then half of you guys it's happening at the beginning of September. I'm getting those two timelines for you guys. So definitely keep those dates in mind, write them down, because I do feel like you guys are getting some sort of opportunity, some sort of recognition, and there's something happening that is a new experience because we have the clover. So this is something that you haven't really experienced before, but it's this new opportunity or new kind of like something coming into your life, some new event, but it's like this good luck. It's like this, somebody's handing you out, the universe or God or whatever you believe in is handing you a surprise, essentially. And I do feel like this is happening either at the end of July for half of you guys or the beginning of September for the other half of you guys. So definitely keep that in mind. I do feel like a lot of you guys are getting some sort of gift, and it comes in the form of an opportunity. Most of you guys, it'll be like a new opportunity, a new special surprise, like you win something, or for some of you guys, this could even come in the form of some sort of, from a friend somehow. I'm getting that for a lot of you guys. And I will say with this fireplace card, with the fire, there will be so much more excitement and so much more energy happening this summer for you guys. There's a lot of energy happening over here. The last two cards that we have over here is the air element and the fire element. Oh my gosh, that's kind of hilarious. We have air and fire. So with these two cards coming up, I was talking a lot about the fact that we have these swords cards, and those correlate with air and thinking and communicating. So I do feel for a lot of you guys, there's going to be a lot more communicating with friends, a lot more hanging out with friends, just a lot more communication in general. So I will say that for you guys, there's going to be a lot more of that kind of energy happening for you guys. And then I was also talking a lot about the wands, since we have these like kind of wand and creativity type of energies happening over here. And so this fire element would equate to a lot of desire, a lot of creativity. So you guys are becoming very creative, and I do feel like there's going to be like this burst and this rush of like these ideas. And I do feel like this might be correlated to this opportunity that you're getting for some of you guys, and it's going to make you feel very excited and like a huge rush of energy for a lot of you guys. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys, pile number one for this summer. I do actually feel like I want to add on probably the Astro dice, because I feel like I want just a little bit more information in terms of like what's happening for you guys. So let's roll these Astro dice to find out a little bit more here. All right, so we have Taurus. We have the second house, which is ruled by Taurus, and then we also have Uranus. So Uranus always comes up when we are changing up. So actually, it's so funny because Uranus is in Taurus right now, and that's what we just got in here with the Astro dice. Very interesting coincidence. So the clover also does deal with coincidences, and we have coincidences happening over here. So this basically talks about that there's going to be a lot of unexpected things, especially in terms of finances and career and your material life. So if you guys have any plans or desire to change up your career, or to maybe change up what you're taking in school, or to change up some material aspects of your life. Like this can also talk about like redecorating is ruled by Taurus, or changing up your diet can also be ruled by the second house as well, things like that. So if you guys get any inspiration to change those things up, that might be happening this summer for you guys to take on some sort of new diet, some sort of maybe new exercise routine to really take care of yourselves. This can also talk about that we were once feeling just really lazy and wanted to just like sit at home, do nothing. And Uranus comes in and he's just like, nope, we're going to change all of that up. So I do feel like there's a bit of an aspect of that happening as well when we have Uranus, Taurus in the second. So that is some fun stuff. This can also change up your finances a lot. I do want to point that out, because whenever Uranus is in Taurus in the second house, especially like in your natal chart or something like that, which is usually what I kind of read it as when we have the Astro Dice coming out, this changes up your finances quite a bit. And whatever method that you had of making money before usually gets changed up. So I do want to point out that can happen for a lot of you guys who chose this pile, and I was kind of feeling a little bit into that energy a little bit earlier, but this kind of makes it a lot more clear right now and a lot more direct. So definitely keep that in mind. Some of you guys might be changing up your jobs, starting something new, or getting a new job opportunity in general, because we do have this like gift coming from the universe. Maybe you guys are going to open up your own business or something like that. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys. Pile number 1, hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give it a really big thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. All right, so group number 2, if you guys chose this pile, this is going to be your reading all about what this summer of 2020 is going to be like, or winter, depending on which side of the hemisphere that you guys reside on. But essentially this is from June 21st all the way until September 21st of 2020. So without further ado, let's hop right into it, starting now. All right, so group number 2, this is what we have for you guys. We start off with the High Priestess upright, then we have the 5 of Cups upright, and then we have Transformation reversed, then we have the Queen of Swords upright. So what I'm really getting from this for you guys is there's something that you guys are getting over this summer, or something that you kind of are getting rid of in your life. And this is why we also have the Queen of Swords, because she's usually pretty direct, and she's like, okay, I'm not taking no crap no more, and I am putting my foot down about something. And so I'm really feeling like you guys are doing that. There's something that you guys have been quiet about, which is why we have the High Priestess starting out over here. There's something that you guys have been quiet about, but it's been kind of like bothering you internally when we have the 5 of Cups right here. And this is like, we tend to look at the negative parts of the situation, and we've been kind of thinking about them for a while, and they've been pretty like kind of gnawing away at us. And I do feel for you guys that sometime through this summer, or again winter, depending on which side of the hemisphere you're on, but sometime, I feel like this is happening definitely at the end of July to the beginning of September for you guys, where you guys are going to really start to put your foot down about something, and you're going to be very decided about something. There's a situation that I feel like is confusing you, especially with the 5 of Cups, because I feel like you're on this teeter-totter of, okay, well, there's negatives about the situation, but then there's also positives about the situation. And it's like this back and forth type of feeling, because the 5 of Cups is like, usually in traditional tarot, it kind of shows it a little bit in this tarot as well, is there's usually a person right here, and they're looking at some cups that fell over, which is essentially like the negative sides to a situation. But then behind him, there's also cups that are upright. And usually there's 3 that are tipped over and then 2 that are upright behind him. And so this kind of shows that there's like this teeter-totter effect where we're having trouble deciding something, or we're kind of upset about something that didn't work out, But what I'm really feeling in this particular situation is this teeter-totter effect of not being able to make a clear-cut decision on something, because on the first hand, there's a bunch of negatives that are weighing it down, and you don't really want it in your life, and you're like, I don't know if this is the right decision for me. But then on the other hand, you're like, oh, but there's so many good things here as well that are kind of keeping me attached. And I do feel like there's more negatives to this situation than positives. And so what I'm really seeing for you guys here is that you're going to make a decision to actually cut it away from your life, or change it in some way, or have like a really deep communication with whatever it is that's bothering you, or whatever person or opportunity or thing or event or situation. You guys are kind of like bringing the sword out. And what I mean by that is swords always resemble either cutting away of certain negative situations symbolically, or it means that we're having very deep thoughts and very deep communication with this situation, thing, or person. So there's a lot going on in your mind, but you're going to come to a clear decision, and that's why she's holding the sword very confidently and she's upright at the very end of it. You guys are going to make a decision, and it's going to be a very big decision this summer or again winter. So the transformation being reversed, though, is kind of like this hesitancy. I get there's this hesitancy around this certain situation to make this decision, but you guys will finally be able to make it. Again, I feel like it's mostly around the end of this summer or winter. So this is more around like, I'm feeling for some of you guys it'll happen at the end of July, but I think most of you guys, this is like end of August and beginning of September for most of you guys. Some of you guys, if you're really early on the timelines right now, this is going to happen in like the end of July type of situation. But again, there's this teeter-totter effect, and you guys are finally going to be able to make a clear-cut decision by the end of it, which is going to free you from a lot of like the emotional baggage that you've been carrying around. Because again, you guys have been kind of like silent about this when we have the High Priestess, but there's like this deep knowing. The High Priestess always talks about that. There's this deep gut feeling about this certain situation that you guys kind of like know what you need to do anyway. And the Five of Cups, it's like, yeah, it's just been gnawing away at you. It's been eating away at you. You've been kind of confused about it because, again, it has its positives, but then there's also its negatives. And it's been tough to kind of weigh out what decision to make because it's kind of like this double-edged blade. The swords usually always come with a little bit of remorse and a little bit of regret anyway, no matter what decision we make. There's regret either way, and so it's like one of those tough decisions because you're like, either way it's gonna sting. Either way, cutting this thing out of my life is gonna hurt because I either have to cut it away from my life, and keeping it also hurts because I'm kind of like stuck in this situation of always feeling like it's unbalanced and it's not really for me anyway. So it's like this weird kind of like feeling. We're going to add some more cards on here, though, to get a little bit more information about what's happening for you guys this summer, especially in regards to this that's coming up. So our next two cards that we have is Reclaim and Versatility. So I do want to put these in this order because I feel like this makes more sense for the situation that we have happening here. So versatility being the first one. This is, you know, you are somebody who's very adaptable to situations, and I feel like that's why you guys have been having like trouble figuring this certain one out, is because like you're like, okay, well, I can stay in this, but I can also not. Either way, I'm gonna have to adapt to a situation. And so you right here are like, should I stay or should I go? So we have these two little mice that one's facing this way and one's facing this way. So big decisions, and I do feel like the reason why it's so confusing is because of your adaptability to any situation. And so it's getting a little bit confusing for you. But at the same time, you need to reclaim your own independence here, which is why we have the cat over here with the crown. Usually cats resemble like this godly energy where we view ourselves like, you know, I'm just gonna think about me for a second. It's a little bit selfish. Cats tend to be pretty selfish. Not all the time. I mean, they're cuddly, beautiful creatures that give so much love. But whenever we do have a cat kind of showing up in a situation like this talks about being able to be a little bit more selfish and put that crown on you. And that's why the cat has a crown over here. It's like, wear the crown for a second and think about what direction you really want in life. Stop thinking about like what's gonna hurt me less, what's gonna do this, what's gonna do that. Think about where do you personally want to go in life and where do you see yourself going, and how do all of these things that you currently have in your life affect your decisions and affect where your life is going. And you're going to need to make your decisions based on that. So I'm seeing a lot of that sort of energy for you guys, and I do feel like you guys just need to put on the big girl pants, put on the big boy pants, and put on your crown. Look at yourself in the mirror and be like, who am I? Where do I see myself going? And what fits in with this lifestyle and what does not? So let's add on a couple more cards to see a little bit more about this situation. So we have, in the Lenormand, we have the book and we have the ring. That's kind of exciting. All right, so the book and the ring. These actually fall one right after the other. This one's 26 and this one's 25, so they're actually consecutive cards over here. All right, so we have the 10 of Wands technically with the book over here, and then the kind of like Ace of Pentacles over here, because the clubs I do count as pentacles, and the Diamonds I count as wands personally. There's some debate. These actually flip-flop for some people, but clubs in traditional playing cards, if you're using them for fortune telling, the clubs, in my understanding, have always represented material abundance and money and stuff like that. So I always equate the clubs to being the pentacles and the wands to being the diamonds. So over here, when we have these two cards that come up next to each other, this is like we're committing to certain knowledge because the ring resembles commitment, or we gain some knowledge in some certain areas by having some deep talks and some deep communications, and we end up making a strong commitment after that. So somehow you guys are committing yourself to maybe a certain career, to maybe a certain way of thinking, a new way of thinking. So you guys might also commit yourselves to some like more knowledge, more spiritual knowledge. You guys might be on a road to wanting and desiring to learn new things. And this can also indicate that we are committing ourselves to a certain contract as well, because the book can resemble contracts. And again, we have the commitment. So maybe you guys are signing a new contract of like maybe a place to live at, maybe a new job contract. Maybe you guys are somehow committing yourself to a new opportunity, deeper learning, deeper experience, things like that this summer. So I do want to point that out. The Ace of Pentacles kind of like thing that we have over here, because we have the Ace of Clubs. This is like we're on a new venture in terms of career or in terms of something material. This can talk about a new car, a new home, things like that. So we're either committing ourselves and signing a new contract for a new car or a home or some other material item. That's usually a pretty big commitment. Or we're committing ourselves to a new career, stuff like that, or to maybe even learning, going to school for a new career, or opening up a new business. That can also indicate opening up a new business as well for some of you guys, and like committing yourselves to signing those papers and getting all the contracts all sorted out, stuff like that. So it can also indicate that for some of you guys. And then our last two cards over here before we do the Astro Dice is Sagittarius, and then we also have the Moon. So with these two cards over here, Sagittarius is like a pretty spontaneous sort of energy. And so when we have Sagittarius coming up and this big commitment, I feel like you guys are entering it without too much. This is a spontaneous commitment. I think one day you guys are just going to wake up and be like, you know what, I just need to do this. I need to get this ball rolling. I'm committing to it. I need to get it on the go. So I feel like you guys are finally like putting your ideas into action when we have Sagittarius. This can also sometimes indicate that we're traveling, but not all the time. There's not a ton of cards over here that indicate travel, but since we do have Sagittarius coming up, for some of you guys, very small portion of you guys, I do feel like there might be some travel plans happening this summer, or at least you are planning for a future travel. At the very least. And then the Moon coming up over here. This can actually talk about that we are purchasing a different home, and it might be somewhere completely different, because the Moon is ruled by Cancer, which rules the 4th house, which is our home life and stuff like that. So it can indicate that, but the Moon, since it is ruled by Cancer, also touches a bit on relationships and stuff like that. So you guys might be making a deeper commitment to a certain relationship when we do have the ring, but somehow there's a commitment to something. So again, it's a general reading. You guys are either committing to a relationship on a deeper level, you're committing either to a big material purchase, or you're committing to a new like school, something like that, new career, new knowledge, commitment to those types of things this summer, or again, winter, depending on the hemisphere that you guys live on. So let's add some Astro Dice on here just to end off this reading and find out a little bit more information. All right. Ooh, we have the Moon again coming up, which is again ruled by Cancers. We have the Libra little dice over here, and we have the 11th house. So Libra talks a little bit about relationships. So if the Moon is in Libra in the 11th house, this can sometimes indicate that we meet somebody that is kind of abroad. So when we have the Moon and we also have Sagittarius, then we have these kind of coming up over here, this can sometimes indicate that we might enter a long distance relationship or something like that, or we might meet somebody abroad that kind of piques our interest. It can mean that for some of you guys. I'm not feeling that like that's everyone here, because we don't have a ton of love cards in our tarot over here that would indicate that this is absolutely a love situation for everyone here, but I'm picking up on a bit of it. So this definitely might be relevant for some of you guys. For the rest of you guys, the 11th house, this is like being of service to people. So either this can be that we are really desiring to fulfill other people and kind of be maybe of service to them, or do something for other people, or provide like a new service. Maybe some of you guys are opening up a new business. Some of you guys are probably going to school for something to learn how to do something and being of service to other people. This can indicate that. This also indicates some emotional fulfillment by finding relationships that are different, that offer a different perspective than we currently have when we have the 11th house and we have Libra. This is kind of like balancing ourselves out and feeling that balance in our friend groups and the new people that we're meeting. So I feel like everyone here is meeting a new person. This might not be a romantic interest for everyone, but I do feel like there's somehow a new friendship, and this person offers like a new kind of maybe religious perspective, or they were born in a different country, that kind of stuff. It can indicate those types of factors when we get these in our Astro Dice. So I'm seeing a little bit of that for you guys who picked pile number 2. Hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give it a really big thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. All right, so pile number 3, if you guys chose this pile, this is going to be your reading all about the summer of 2020 or winter, depending on which side of the hemisphere that you guys live on. Again, this is from June 21st all the way until September 21st. So let's hop right into this and find out what your prediction is. We're starting now. All right, so pile number 3, this is what I have for you guys. We start off with the 3 of Wands being reversed over here. Then we have the Knight of Swords upright. Then we have the Ace of Pentacles or Crystals upright. And then we have the 4 of Wands being upright. So I do want to start off by saying, I don't know why this has been in almost every pile so far. Again, the first two piles had like some abstract sort of meanings that kind of touched on a lot of different options, but for you guys who chose pile number 3, these two cards next to each other almost always indicates some sort of move in your home or some sort of change in your home. So either, okay, this can mean like a big purchase around your home, moving, making a new home for yourself, buying a new home, that kind of stuff, because Ace of Pentacles is always like, we're making a big commitment, big purchase, and it's like a brand new sort of like area that we've never been before, because it's an ace, so it's like a new beginning. And then the 4 of Wands is our home life and our foundation, where we reside, things like that. So it can be a big purchase and a new beginning in regards to redecorating, but with the 4 of Wands, it's usually indicating that we're moving. So if you guys don't have any plans to move, you probably will this summer or winter, again, depending on which side of the hemisphere that you guys live on. I'll probably be repeating that a lot throughout this whole reading just to dissipate some of the confusion that might come up whenever I say summer for some of you guys that obviously don't have summer during the months of June, July, and August, and September. So yeah, definitely feeling a move for most of you guys. The Knight of Swords, this is usually quite spontaneous. The Knight of Swords is somebody who makes like a decision overnight, and they're really quick. So this is like a very fast-paced decision that's coming in. I feel like you guys might just see something that you really like, or an opportunity will come in for you guys to move, and you're just like, okay, doing it, that's it, and it takes you like 2 weeks to get in and out of there. The Knight of Swords moves very, very, very quickly. This could also be like a brand new opportunity, because the Knight of Swords, whenever he's next to the Ace of Crystals or Pentacles, this can also mean that we're relocating because of a certain job that we have. This can also indicate that, you know, maybe we're moving our homes and stuff, but then also because of that, we are beginning something new in terms of our career. Maybe we're getting some sort of promotion, maybe we're opening up a new business, maybe we're starting a new business, things like that. Somehow it's changing up your career a little bit and also changing up your home life. So I feel like there's this new spontaneous sort of like, I just got to get out of here, I need change, that sort of kind of feeling when we have the Knight of Swords. I know I'm kind of reading this backwards right now, but I just saw such a strong message like over here that I just needed to start with this. But then the 3 of Wands being reversed. Okay, so this indicates that in the beginning of all of this, so at the end of June, which is kind of like the beginning of the summer or winter, you guys are feeling a little bit confused and a little bit lost. So this could even talk about the current kind of emotion. So depending on when you're watching this could talk about the current situation that you're currently feeling at the moment is a little bit lost and you're not really sure what your future is going to look like yet, because maybe you're waiting on some pending decisions. Maybe you are currently figuring out exactly where you might belong or where you exactly want to go, but you know that you need change. There's this inner urge for like this change, and you feel like you want a quick thing that's going to like get you up off your feet and put you in a new direction and put you in a new place. And so I'm definitely feeling that for most of you guys that chose this pile, there's a definite feeling of like, I need like a swift change over here. And I see it coming for all of you guys. So that is pretty exciting. I'm wondering if some of you guys are actually on a job hunt right now, and we have the Knight of Swords. I feel like this is like, there's almost this searching energy for like, okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do next? And it's like, where do I go? And this could also be indicating this sort of energy around home life as well. So definitely keep that in mind. But there's definitely this energy of like, I need to create change. Where do I go? What do I do? I'm searching for the inspiration. I'm scrolling through Pinterest. I'm scrolling through all these things, trying to find out where I should go from here. So our next two cards that we have over here is Release and Sacred Destruction. So you guys are absolutely releasing something that you have once been tied to. So this Release card is definitely making me feel like, you know, you were the frog on this certain lily. You've stayed on this lily for a while, but now you're like, I'm tired of this lily. I need to spontaneously grow a new lily, which he is exactly doing in this card. He's hopping off of this lily, spontaneously manifesting a new lily and just taking it with him wherever he wants to go. So I do feel like you guys are absolutely changing some things up. And so you're releasing a lot of old things in your life because there's been this stagnant energy. Three of Wands reversed indicates this stagnant sort of energy that you are just itching to get rid of when we have the Knight of Swords being next. So there's this need for spontaneous change, and it is absolutely coming for you guys, especially when we have Sacred Destruction as well. It's almost like, I do feel like you guys almost have to like cut some prior commitments away from your life in order to do this when we have Sacred Destruction as well as the Knight of Swords. This is like, we definitely need to cut the ties with some old commitments that we've once had in order to be kind of set free, in order to release and move on into this brand new kind of realm that we're creating for ourselves with the Ace of Crystals over here. So yeah, some spontaneous stuff. I do feel like, again, there's some sort of like move around home. I just want to say that again. I don't know why I feel like saying that again, but the Four of Wands over here, this is a new beginning in your home life. And this is like a beautiful destruction. So Sacred Destruction comes up when we are kind of like eradicating something from our lives, releasing something from our lives, and we do have to maybe destroy like a prior commitment again, but it ends up being sacred because it's for like the greater good because you guys are like, again, itching for this change, and like this change is right around the corner. So there you go. The next two cards that we have for you guys is the Child and the Crossroads. Very interesting. So Child and Crossroads usually indicates that we're making a spontaneous decision, not exactly with the most mature like behavior or mature mindset. It's kind of like you guys are like, I just need change right now, and I'm just gonna like spontaneously do it, even though everyone else might be looking at me like, what? You're like changing up things so quickly without even really thinking about it far enough. And it's almost like this childhood innocence in this crossroads. You know how like you have to make a big decision and you're needing to act really quickly, and so you just kind of act on these childish instincts of like, I want it now, I'm gonna get it now. And there's kind of a little bit of that sort of feeling behind all of this. We do also have over here, again, like this is either the Page or Knight of Spades. I forgot which one it is, but either way, it kind of indicates a similar message here because we have the swords, which are the spades. And so it connects a lot to our current Knight of Swords over here. And I believe this is the page or like princess, but I guess in playing cards, it's kind of just the jack of spades, which is the Knight of Swords essentially. So this card indicates that we are making some hasty decisions and we are just running after our dreams without kind of thinking about the real worldly consequences that might follow them. But not saying that there's going to be, because all of the cards that we currently have are all really good. So it's kind of like, yes, we're making these spontaneous decisions without putting our big thinking caps on about it, and we're kind of just going based off of our feelings, the fact that we're being called towards here, and everything's kind of okay because of that. But yeah, definitely watch out, because it could be like you're rushing into this a little bit too fast, but at the same time, it's kind of, it's whatever, it's fine. And yeah, the crossroads is just like that big decision that we're making, and these big new commitments that we're making, the big changes. Because again, I do see this spontaneous change, especially when we have the Knight of Swords next to the Ace of Crystals. This is definitely like we're changing up some stuff pretty dang spontaneously, pretty dang quickly. And yeah, we end up having to take on some bigger commitments because of it. The Ace of Crystals is definitely a bigger commitment than what you're used to in the moment. The next two cards that we have over here is Jupiter of Abundance and the first house, the body. So Jupiter Abundance, this is really good, especially since we do have like these cards indicating that we're making some quick decisions, not really with our big thinking caps on. So to get this card over here is pretty good. So this is indicating that yes, everything's going to be okay. You are taking on a bigger commitment, but at the same time, I feel like this new commitment is going to help you increase your abundance. And the Ace of Crystals even being upright, you are starting a new journey that will help you increase your material wealth and increase your abundance in general. So yes, this is a spontaneous decision. Yes, it is a bigger commitment, but it's helping you expand. Jupiter's all about expansion. It's ruled by Sagittarius. We are expanding so much. It's the biggest planet that we have, so it is all about expansion. And you guys are going to be able to withhold everything that you are currently doing. It will require quite a bit out of you when we have the first house. And again, the first house is ruled by Aries, and so it's kind of like we're jumping in head first again into these sort of things. So it is, again, that sort of like childish, just jump on right in. We're not really thinking it through. This isn't a thought out kind of experience, especially when we have like the Knight of Swords and things like that. We are spontaneously running in here without thinking about how it's going to end up or where it's going to proceed next. We don't really think about how it's going to end, but we're just hopping in there anyway. The first house and the body, when we have like expansion and stuff like that, one thing that you guys will need to look out for is your diet, because when we have Jupiter and the first house, this can sometimes indicate that we might get a little bit carried away with the junk food that we're eating and the indulgence that we're having, because again, we're not really thinking about the end factor over here. So this can sometimes indicate that we end up leaving behind our diet and we might indulge a little bit too much into treats, wine, things like that. And we need to be on the lookout of those things, because yeah, again, overabundance can sometimes be a bad thing in terms of like food and stuff like that. So just make sure that you're eating correctly, guys, and that you're staying healthy and you're taking care of your body and not being too overabundant in the terms of the body and stuff like that. So definitely keep that in mind as well, because sometimes that can indicate that. And let's add on some Astro Dice to find out a little bit more information for the end of this reading. All right, so we have the 9th house, which is Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. Then we have Aries, which is literally this card right here. I love when the Astro Dice talks and suits perfectly into what we were just talking about. And then we also have Saturn, which is our restrictions. So one thing that you're gonna have to look out for, because we have Saturn in Aries in the 9th. And what this talks about, the 9th house and Aries both do not really like Saturn, because Saturn comes in and Saturn is like, here's the real world, here's the real world problems, here is the restrictions, here's the restraints. And of course, Jupiter doesn't like restrictions and restraints, because Jupiter's all about expansion. And so it's like putting on a belt around Jupiter, which Jupiter does have a belt, by the way, but it's like tightening that belt to the point where Jupiter feels like it's going to explode, and Jupiter's like, what? I just want to be me. I just want to expand. What you doing over here, Saturn? And then, of course, I mean, like Saturn has a very like minor belt compared to, Jupiter has a very minor belt compared to Saturn over here. Anyway, so Saturn comes in with its restrictions, with its restraints. Of course, Aries doesn't like that either, because Aries really likes its freedom. And so this is kind of telling me that when you guys try to expand further and try to jump into things further, you might notice that Jupiter comes in and kind of hits you with the real world problems. And so this can be that Saturn comes in and shows you just how far you can go. It kind of shows you where the wall is of the room. And so it's kind of like you're in this room that's so vast and you feel like you can expand so far in it, and you start to buy all this new furniture, and then as this furniture comes in, you start to realize like, oh, there is walls in this room. I didn't even really think about the fact that there could be like a limit, like a threshold of this room. I kind of just imagined that it would keep expanding the more furniture that I bought. But you guys are going to kind of realize that there is restrictions here, there is a limit, there is a threshold to just how spontaneous that you guys can be. So definitely keep that in mind. This is kind of like the reminder of, no, we can't go that far. You can go pretty far, but you can't go that far without dealing with Saturn first, without dealing with the real world restrictions first, and realizing that I might have to hire a construction company to come in here and expand these walls further, because I thought that they would just keep expanding for me. Didn't really realize I had to kind of deal with it on my own, and I kind of just hoped I could la my way through it. That's not going to happen in here. So you guys will kind of be like founded by this kind of like restraint or restriction sort of near the mid and end of this summer, or again winter, depending on which area of the world that you live in. But there will be some sort of restrictions that you guys will end up finding. This can also be talking about diet as well. You finally realize like, oh wait, my pants aren't fitting, because Saturn is again like those rings, those pants, that belt. It's like that belt again, like I was talking about. Whereas Aries just wants to jump right in and doesn't really think about what's happening. And Jupiter is just like, we'll just keep expanding. It's fine. We'll just keep treating ourselves. We'll just keep living in abundance. And then you try to put on your pants again, and Saturn's like, hold up. I have limits. I have limits here, guys. So it does talk about that. Definitely keep that in mind for those of you who chose this pile. I mean this metaphorically as well as dietary, because dietary just does come up when we are talking about the first house, the body, and Jupiter of abundance, and especially when Saturn comes up. So it does talk a bit about diet, but it also talks metaphorically about the way that you're jumping in and expanding yourself, either buying a new home or starting this new career, starting this new job. Don't really like just jump right into things without really thinking about what you're really committing to. But I mean, do it anyway, but just be aware that there is limits, guys, that you'll need to expand past, and that you'll need to face obstacles, you'll need to face restrictions, you'll need to face in order to overcome them and expand outside of them. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys, pile number 3. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give it a really big thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. All right, so pile number 4, my opalite pile. This is going to be your reading all about summer of 2020 or winter, depending on which side of the hemisphere you live on, but essentially it is from June 21st all the way until September 21st of 2020. So without further ado, let's hop right into it, starting now. All right, so group number 4, we start off here with the King of Wands upright, then we have the 10 of Wands being reversed, then we have the King of Crystals, which is the Pentacles, upright, and then we have Starseed over here. So, oh my gosh, I'm getting a very quick message here that I do want to point out. You guys are going through an awakening this summer, or again winter, depending on which side of the hemisphere that you're on. You guys are starting like a brand new kind of endeavor, and I feel like this is going to be a very spontaneous like growth endeavor where you guys kind of get like enlightened to a lot of things. When we have this starseed over here, I feel like you guys are going through a spiritual awakening, but there's also like this divine purpose. I feel like you guys are being connected to your divine purpose this summer during the months of like June, July, August, and September. So I feel like you guys are like really getting in touch with what you are supposed to be doing on this planet, which is very exciting. I feel like you guys are almost just like activating the chi within you and the inspiration, where you guys are really aligning yourself to your divineness and to your divine purpose and things like that. I'm just like repeating myself at this point, but I really wanted to make that message clear because I'm feeling it pretty strongly in this pile. When we start off with the King of Wands being upright, I feel like you guys are very inspired. There's some sort of idea that you guys have that it's a pretty developed idea. You guys have been thinking it there on out, here on through for quite some time. So there's this idea that you guys really want to put into action, and I see you guys actually putting it into action this summer, especially because we have the King of Pentacles over here, King of Crystals. This talks about our ideas are materializing, and we're finally figuring out a way to make all of our inspired actions into material manifestations. The 10 of Wands being reversed over here is we're gonna probably have to lighten the load by getting help from some other people. So either this is realizing that we can't do it all on our own and that we need help, and that we either need to like hire help over here or ask for help from our friends or our families, something like that. So somehow you guys are going to need a little bit of help throughout this. The 10 of Wands is like we're carrying a pretty hefty load, but we are smart enough to realize, okay, I can't do this all on my own. I'm going to need a little bit of help here and there. And you guys, I feel like you have it figured out of where you need to ask for this help and what you need to do and where you need to go. And this Starseed card, I feel like you guys are being guided through this. This is like, whatever idea you guys have right now is such a destined idea. All I can say here is that I'm just really excited for you guys. Really, really excited for you guys. Yeah, it just seems like everything's kind of like doing this flow thing. I do feel like you guys are starting some sort of new endeavor, some sort of new idea, some sort of new project. You guys are embarking on it. You're embarking on that journey, and it's very exciting. So I'm seeing a lot of that energy for you guys. I'm going to add on a couple more cards here to see what else we kind of get over here, what other kind of messages we have. So we have a transmute and nature. So some of you guys may be called to returning a little bit more to nature. Some of you guys might be like feeling like you can think better over there, or like clear your mind better over there, or that might be where you kind of get some spontaneous ideas and things like that. When we have this transmute card over here, this is like an alchemical process. I'm seeing a lot of like alchemy happening over here, not in terms of like you guys are legitimately, deliberately doing alchemy, but in more of an energetic way, in a background subconscious way, where you guys are taking your ideas and transmuting them into real life substance. So you have this idea, you're finally taking that energy and taking action on it in order for it to be like a real life thing for you guys. And again, you're kind of activating your destined purpose here. I feel like you guys are finally figuring out what you were meant to do on this earth. Maybe you guys have had it figured out and kind of like planned out in your head for a while, but finally it's like you're seeing the rewards of all of your thinking and doing so far and planning, and you're finally going to be able to see the material manifestation of the things that you have been planning, especially if it deals with your purpose. If it deals with your divine purpose on this earth and what you're supposed to be doing with your life, you're going to see a lot of material benefit. And I mean that monetarily, I mean that in physical material wealth type of ways. Could be possibly making some big purchases as well when we have the King of Crystals, but usually it's because he can afford it with ease. So if you guys are planning on making some sort of purchases, it feels like, wow, didn't really realize I could do all of these things, and it feels like it's not even putting a dent in my wallet. It feels really good, and I know that abundance is following and coming through anyway. And I feel like nature has your back. I feel like you're getting very connected with your spirituality and your spiritual side, especially because it's next to Starseed over here. So this is like we are getting in touch with who we are naturally, which is why we have nature. So who you are destined to be naturally, not who you've currently designed yourself to be. Of course we design ourselves to be in this natural way because our soul has these callings and these purposes, but it's like you're finally returning to your roots, and you guys are planting the seeds, because the acorn is like the seed, and the acorn also resembles our pineal gland. So it's like pineal gland activations where we finally we can see what our purpose is. We can see what we've been destined for, that kind of stuff. So very exciting cards coming up for you guys. And the next two that we have over here is the Anchor and the Woman. So when we have the Anchor and the Woman, this is like we're making some very solid decisions. We ourselves feel very confident in what we're doing, and we're anchoring ourselves to our purpose, and you're making a very solid commitment to that purpose. And this is like we're planting our roots. We've figured out where we want to go, we figured out where we want to be, and we're planting those roots. We do also have the 9 of Swords over here because the spades do correlate to the swords in tarot, and it is the number 9. So this is usually when we have been thinking so hard about something. The 9 of Swords usually indicates like sleepless nights, insomnia, stuff like that. So you guys might have these ideas that are rolling through your head that cause you to probably sleep less currently, and especially during this summer, there's going to be quite a bit of significantly less sleep. So you guys might be noticing that. And then we also do have the Ace of Swords over here. So this is like, we're rebirthing into new thinking patterns, new ways of thinking, and that could be what's keeping you up at night, because it's like all this like kind of new fresh ideas and stuff like that that's like kind of really exciting you, but you feel very committed to these things, these ideas that you're having, and they're pretty exciting. And I feel like this also indicates that you might get most of your ideas at night, right before you go to sleep, and right when you're in that relaxed kind of like dreamish state, when you're getting into like the theta brainwaves and you're going into that subconscious state. This is usually where we find a lot of our creativity, and so I feel like you guys in particular are finding a ton of creativity at night right before you fall asleep. And so you guys might be noticing that you can't really fall asleep very well, but it's because you guys are getting all of these like really good ideas, and these kind of like divine ideas are coming through at this time that align you to your purpose and your destiny. So I'm going to add 2 more cards on here to find out a little bit more about what is happening here. So we have Capricorn and void of course moon. So void of course moon, it happens in astrology when there's no aspects being made to the moon, and the moon is one of, or actually is the fastest moving celestial body that we have in our solar system, in terms of what we use as astrology from our Earth's perspective. So void of course moon, when there's no aspects being made to the moon. So this comes up when we have a ton of ideas, but they aren't exactly tied to a physical thing yet to find their way into physical reality. But again, like I was saying, it's like you kind of start off this way. I should actually put these in this order. I know it's kind of weird to change up the order, but I'm really feeling like this is the way that it's actually supposed to be, just based on the fact that the tarot was talking in this direction, and these 2 cards are speaking in that direction as well. I highly feel like they're meant to be that way. So the void of course moon over here, again, is like, we kind of start off with these just being ideas. We don't necessarily have the earthly ties to make them happen yet. We haven't really exactly planted the seed, but right now is the time to finally plant that seed into the earth for it to finally grow and grow its roots. And that way it's not like void of course. It's almost like, you know, you're having seeds that aren't planted. They're almost void of course seeds because they can't do anything. They're not tied to anything yet. They can't grow yet until you tie them to something. And so I feel like by the end of this sort of like period, so this is kind of like the month of August and September, we're finally planting those seeds so that it's not void of course anymore. And then we have this Capricorn sort of energy, which is like the earth energy. If we plant our seed into the earth, it can become a physical manifestation, which is what I was talking about with the King of Crystals, which is the King of Pentacles. So it's finally able to create itself into a physical manifestation of things that we've been planning for so long. So again, I feel like you guys probably have felt in your past like you didn't really know what your purpose was. You weren't really tied to anything. This summer, I feel like you're figuring out what your truest, most divine destiny is. And it's finally going to come into fruition, and you're finally going to plant that seed and make a physical commitment, which is why we also have the anchor over here in the woman, because you're finally like, I am confident in what I'm choosing right now, and I feel it so deep in my soul. And then Capricorn, we're climbing that mountain, we're making it happen, and it's becoming a physical manifestation. So to end off this reading, I'm going to put some astro dice down and just see what we get over here. For our last bit of information, we have the sun in Capricorn, of course, because we have Capricorn in the 2nd house. So the 2nd house is very material. We have a lot of like material things happening in a lot of these piles so far, and we do have a lot of planets in Capricorn right now. So this is kind of making sense why all of us collectively are going through a lot of different, more material earth sign kind of energy type of things. So when we have the sun in Capricorn, this is our soul, our divine purpose, our light is finding its physical connection to this planet and what we're going to be doing in terms of work, career, material manifestations, which is also what the 2nd house indicates, because Taurus indicates, again, our career and our money, our material wealth, stuff like that. So what I'm really getting for this is that you're finally connecting. The most major message in here is that you're finally connecting to your destiny in terms of especially career and material types of things. So this can also indicate that we are possibly even changing up the way we look when we have the 2nd house, because it is ruled by Venus, or we are just, you know, feeling really, there's a lot of creativity behind it. There's a lot of creative energy here, and The sun is very creative. It's the center of attention. And so we're finally realizing our own light, our own internal soul's destiny and own spotlight. It's like totally like a spotlight. And we're finally beginning the climb, planting that seed and creating material manifestation. So it's kind of reiterating exactly kind of what the cards were saying. So fun reading, you guys. Pile number 4. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give it a really big thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys. All right, so my last pile number 5. If you guys chose this one, this is going to be a reading all about what is happening this summer of 2020 or winter, depending on which side of the hemisphere that you're on. This is essentially from June 21st all the way until September 21st of 2020. So without further ado, let's hop right into this, starting now. All right, so pile number 5, this is what I have for you guys. So we start off with the 9 of crystals being reversed over here. Then we have the 5 of wands being upright. Then we have the 8 of cups being reversed, and we have the ace of cups being reversed. So let's get into what all of this indicates over here. So first off, I want to talk about the 9 of pentacles being reversed. This can come up when we have normally been living very comfortably and we felt like our monetary situation was going really well. We felt really comfortable, but then the 9 of crystals or pentacles when it's reversed is like, we're like, wait a minute, what? It feels like some of our material wealth got kind of like either taken away from us or temporarily declined in its abundance. And so we're feeling a little bit more tight. We're feeling a bit tight financially in the beginning of all of this. And so at the end of June and like the beginning of July, I feel like money is going to feel a little bit tight. You might be a little bit worried about it. Then we have the 5 of wands over here. So this is kind of like we have to reorganize and resituate the way that we've normally been because of the fact that I feel like we have this like monetary tightness. We don't have as much freedom, and so we're needing to kind of like reorganize and resort our way of living temporarily. And this is only a temporary card because again, the 5 of wands, it's usually a pretty quick situation. But we do kind of need to, it's a little bit chaotic, a little bit hectic at first, but it gets sorted out in a constructive way. So I don't want you guys like worrying about it too much over here. The next card that we have over here is the 8 of cups being reversed. And so somehow you're having to return to an old emotional thing that you have built up before that you've left behind. So somehow you guys are, like I said, kind of returning to something that you have once built up emotionally. So this could be that you guys are ending up thinking about like a past lover, especially because it's next to the Ace of Cups being reversed, or this could be like a past inspiration, something that once made you feel alive and made you feel really good. Maybe you're thinking about an old friendship that has died and you're kind of like thinking about it again and you're wondering why it happened this way. And you guys might be really inclined on reaching out to someone or just at least reminiscing on a past situation. But I do feel like you guys will end up reaching out to like an old lover or an ex-friend of yours or something like that you haven't talked to in a while, or you guys are getting reached out by them as well. But I do feel like you guys are the ones doing the reaching out in this particular situation just based on the cards that came out. I do feel like you are possibly reminiscing, again, like I said, about an old friendship or an old lover that you guys are just interested in connecting with again. So, and I don't mean that you guys are connecting like completely again, but you guys are just almost longing for their opinion, or at least just saying hi to them, wondering how they're doing. There's some sort of energy here that's correlating with that. But this could also be an old idea of yours. So this could be an old passion that you guys have once had that you're reigniting, an old job that you once had, an old career. Somehow you guys are returning to something from the past. This could also be returning to the place that you once grew up, and you are reminiscing about it, thinking about it, and you're wanting to return there for whatever reason. There's kind of like this energy of thinking about the past and thinking about things that haven't worked out before. So definitely keep that in mind. I do feel like it's going to kind of like, well, that guy's driving fast out there. Slow down, buddy. Anyway, the Ace of Cups over here being reversed is like we are feeling the loss of it for some reason, and we keep reminiscing on the loss of it. So let's add on some more cards and find out exactly what's happening over here and why we are caught up thinking about this. So the next two cards that we have is Get Curious and Sacred Sexuality. So with these two cards, Get Curious, I do want to point out that with the whole like monetary situation possibly going down a little bit and making us feel a little bit different or a little bit tight, I do feel like there's this curiosity of really wanting to spread your wings, really wanting to expand. And so you're kind of thinking about these different ideas, and you might return to an idea that you once had in the past, you know, as a method of maybe gaining a little bit more monetarily again. So there might be like thinking of like, oh, well, I used to do this, maybe I can add that back on, maybe I can fit that in the schedule again. Or you're getting curious about how to expand further. So there is this kind of like, I want to spread my wings, but I feel a little bit restrained at the moment, but there's a desire to spread, there's a desire to expand and do more. But it seems like the beginning of the year is definitely more of an inward retreat and a little bit more of a hermit time. Although you are kind of like exploring the inner realms when we have this get curious. So you're exploring that kind of like that inner world of, okay, I used to do that, I used to think about that. And it's kind of like a clearing out. I feel like this summer, or again winter for you guys, depending on which area of the world that you live in, is an internal exploration of the past. And you guys are doing this in order to release some stuff from the past, in order to explore a little bit of it and bring it to light. And maybe there's a message within that for you guys. And I'm feeling when I look at this card and she's meditating right here, I feel like there is some sort of message deep in the past for you guys that you guys need to look at and bring to the surface. And it can either deal with your creativity, it can make you highly creative afterwards in terms of what you guys want to do in the world right now, and in terms of like maybe expanding your wings further. There could be like a creative gem that you guys end up coming across, or it could just allow some healing, especially if this deals with an old friendship or old relationship. It can allow for some healing. So spread those wings. This could also be like you spreading your wings in a reach out to a past person in your life, somebody who's been in your life before that you no longer talk to. This is like an extension of an arm of like, hello there, hi. And then sacred sexuality over here. This comes up when we, again, can be exploring our more creative kind of like aspects of ourselves. It doesn't always deal with sexuality, but the card even coming up is like the creative energy that we have, because our sexuality stems from the most creative part of our energy. Again, it has the ability to create life, and therefore has also the ability to be the highest motivator of creative energy, which is why there's a lot of people who preach not utilizing the sexual energy often in order to be more creative in your day-to-day life. And so you guys might be exploring a little bit more of like, how do I become a little bit more creative, or how do I kind of like awaken my creativity? Because again, there's this aspect where you guys are so internal and you're exploring so much internally that you're wanting to kind of like reignite your outward spark. And this might be why you're returning to the past a little bit and thinking about the past of like, ooh, well, I used to be really happy then, I used to da-da-da-da-da. You guys are trying to like refill your cup, because the Ace of Cups is upside down. You feel a little bit drained and you're wanting to reinvigorate yourself. So you're exploring a little bit about how to ignite your own flame again, and not necessarily sexually. It could be for some of you guys, but this is more of like just the creative aspect of it. So definitely keep that in mind. This is more of just like wanting to fill your cup so that you wake up every morning feeling motivated and energized and inspired, because it feels like currently you guys aren't really feeling much of that. The next two cards that we have is the Lightning Bolt and the Mirror. So these two cards coming up, these are consecutive cards. Again, we have 49 and 50 over here. So this is almost like you guys are striking down at an old way of viewing yourself. And this is kind of why you're going internal and kind of digging into the past a little bit, because you're like, wait a minute, I kind of need to like destroy my current way of thinking, the negative ways I'm talking about. So you're almost redefining who you are, because the mirror, when it shatters, this is how we see ourselves. And so you are kind of honing in on and striking in on how you look at yourself, and you're really wanting to change that up. You're really noticing maybe a self-deprecating kind of behavior and feeling like, you know what, I want to view life differently, because this is probably why you're feeling less motivated to even like make money at the moment, feeling less motivated in your life in general. And so now you're getting curious and you're doing some inner exploration and having these inner debates with yourself, and you're kind of like, you know what, no more of feeling this way. No more of this like looking at myself and feeling down on myself. No more of that. And there's going to be a point where you're just like, you're going to strike down and be like, no more. And I do feel like this is also letting go of the past, striking down on the past, really letting it go for good. That kind of feeling. And then sacred sexuality as well over here in correlation with these. I feel like this is how you reignite that spark, is by using that, all of that energy that you have that's kind of like frustrating you, taking that frustration and using it to redefine yourself and to say no to the current ways that you see yourself and the current way that you talk to yourself, if it's self-deprecating in any sort of way, or if it's been unmotivating, or if you just have been really lazy with yourself. Use the frustration of that to then eradicate those old behaviors and those kind of like more toxic thinking patterns, to refuel yourself and redefine yourself, and use that energy to redefine yourself. The next two cards that we have over here is Mars Force and then Saturn of Truth. So these fit in perfectly with what we're talking about. So Mars of Force connects a lot to the lightning bolt. It's basically the same message right here, where it's like we are using our frustration to finally be like, you know what? I need to get rid of my frustrations. So I'm going to use my frustrations to strike down on my frustrations, to no longer have them, and to let that new flame grow into something beautiful, and to have it fuel me instead of tear me down. Use that flame to fuel you instead of tear you down. And then Saturn of Truth. This is about finally recognizing our truth and redefining our truth. Again, you're breaking down this old mirror because you're like, this doesn't work for me anymore. I keep like making myself feel worse, and therefore I'm getting more and more down on myself. So it's like we're finally breaking that mirror and we're seeing the truth, and we're like, I need to just redefine this, and I need to create like a new way of thinking here. So you guys are creating this new definition of yourselves in order to just feel free, in order to feel creative, in order to feel really happy. So if you guys have been struggling with feeling down or anything like that, I feel like you guys are finally facing that this summer or winter, and completely redoing the way that you speak to yourself and the way that you talk to yourself, and it's going to be so much more positive, so much more positive. In fact, I see the Ace of Cups turning upright, and like this creative energy coming in really strong. So let's add in a couple more, the Astro Dice, and let's see what the Astro Dice has to say to add in a little bit more information to end off this reading. All right, so we have the 9th house, which we've been having a lot, and then we have Taurus, which we've had once before in this entire, what do I call it, whole pick a card reading, I guess. And then we have also Jupiter. So when we have Jupiter in Taurus in the 9th house, we're ready to expand. We're ready to change our philosophies as well, because this is ruled a lot by Sagittarius. This is a lot of like Sagittarian energy, because Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius and the 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius. So this is like new philosophies, new way of living, in order to like get our motivation going again, because the Taurus, the bull, is the cow. And trying to get a cow to move is pretty difficult, but once you get them moving, they are unstoppable. They're completely unstoppable. So this is the same metaphor as like what you guys are going through right now. You feel like that big old cow, and I'm not saying that in like a mean way. I just mean that in like your energy has felt like it's been weighing down on you. And so it's felt like your energy's felt heavy. And so trying to get that energy to move has been really difficult. Trying to get motivated has been very difficult probably for you lately. But when we have this coming up, once you use that, like all of your energy to like really like get rid of this energy, this stagnant energy that's been holding you back, it's almost like, okay, I'm just going to use this example, even though this is kind of a harsh example, but at least it is an example that gets across what I'm trying to say. It's almost like using a whip to get the cow moving. It's pretty harsh, but at least the cow starts moving, and it's like, it's getting your energy to be less stagnant. And I'm not saying to do this literally. This is not what I'm saying at all. But it's like the whip is just like your energy of like kind of like whipping yourself into shape with your thoughts and being like, you know what? No, not doing this. Again, striking down on your old behaviors to get the cow moving, to get that old stagnant energy moving, and then you're like, whew, and then you're unstoppable. It's like trying to push a big boulder off of a mountain when it's like really stuck there, and you finally get it rolling. It's unstoppable after that. I feel like you guys are gonna be unstoppable after you guys get yourself moving. But the key here is getting yourselves moving, and I feel like that's gonna be what's gonna happen for you guys this summer or this winter again. So yes, lots of shifting of energy happening here. And I feel like once you get the ball rolling again, because of the fact that we have Jupiter and Taurus, when Jupiter's in Taurus, this expands our abundance so much. So if you guys are feeling like you're in a little bit of a drought monetarily, this will change near the end of this time. So around the end of August, beginning of September, you're gonna get the ball rolling again, and your finances and your money is gonna start expanding once again and getting bigger and bigger, and you guys will finally be able to feel a little bit more free in that area again, and you're gonna feel a lot better about it. So that is what I'm seeing for you guys, pile number 5. Hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give it a really big thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button down below if you have not already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.